Hello. Now, let's look at something very simple today. Uh, Engineering at a grocery store. There's things we don't think about that we should think about. Again, we're talking processes, outcomes and processes. So let's start out here with our shopping carts, which are a huge mess. And we can see why. So we got these big carts right here, and they fit in all neatly. And then we got a couple of these little baby carts. And while they fit in with each other neatly, they don't fit in well with the big carts. So what you have here is you have a big chaotic mess. And we got carts that are extending back out into the driving area. This is not very user-friendly. But again, these are processes that the engineer, when designing things, such as this cart corral here, needs to take in consideration. We have different size carts. We have smaller carts and we have bigger carts. So we have different size carts with different size needs for customers that have different purposes for these carts. So what will happen here is until somebody comes out and clears these carts out, these carts will continue stacking out. See, they're already stacking out right here. They'll stack out, and then you'll have an issue of loose carts, and these loose carts will go and they flip and hit cars. And then you have car damage, so then the automotive engineers get involved because they have to design bodies that aren't going to dent when cars hit them. And so a small thing becomes a major thing because we're not thinking necessarily of the whole process. We're thinking bits and pieces of the process. So always know what the process is and what the output is, who the end users are when you start on your design. So even our entryway here, lots engineering design. We got an aisle. We got a stop sign that's rather faded right out in the middle of it. So that's something that people can hit. We've got this crosswalk, not at all very well marked. And maybe you can see the flaw if the crosswalk is, it goes right to a parked car. So if I'm in the crosswalk, I will actually hit a car if I cross properly. And again, these are just small things that we need to think about as engineers when we design things. No room here. Look at this. We got no room here to display things. So it's real crowded. At this particular store, we've got the red box, and that's obstructed. And then vehicles will park here to go to the red box, causing further obstruction. See, look at this one. Look at this one here. You know, the vehicle's right in the way. You know, even though it says not to park there, they'll park there anyway. And this all becomes issues that the good engineer in the design process has to consider and has to start thinking about to solve these problems, because these little problems add up and become big problems. So let's talk aisle design. And this one's pretty obvious of what's wrong with this aisle. Or in fact, there's a post running right through this. So it makes it really challenging for people to walk around. If you want to stock anything, you can't bring a pallet up and down this aisle because there's just not enough width here. So this is one of those, again, we think of the engineering process. In engineering this, obviously, there's some issues here. And let's look at our soups. We'll start over here at the Campbell's, because the Campbell's are interesting. Because if you look at the Campbell's, look at our labels here. And they all have pretty much a similar pattern. It's the Campbell's, and in the name, and in the product. And then there's some that got this little bit of blue and a little bit of green, so it's the fat freeze. And then you got these dudes over here with 25% sodium, and you got the healthier request. Let's pull back out here a little bit. Let's see, look at that. They look similar. The placement of the green, the placement of the blues, and that becomes a real issue, because see, here's our blues. So those are, see that, they're similar. These are similar. Look at those two. That's the fat-free. That's the great for cooking. Other than that little strip, they look identical. If you're colorblind, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. So this becomes a real logistical issue because, look, I got a chicken noodle here. I got some chicken noodles down there. I got some other chicken noodles, some vegetable. I got 3 or 4 different types of each type of soup, but they're different. And so this becomes a real alarming issue. And if you look at this shelf, it's just like chaos. It's hard to find anything. It's hard to stock anything. Now, I do like the again, we're in Kroger. Look here, we got yellows. And that's just their traditionals. Then we got these blues. That's your great for cooking, so it's a special blend. So theirs are a little bit better on the organization. Still not great, but better. My favorites, if you're going to design things, are these Progressos here, because it's real obvious which ones go here. So we got our Rich and Hearties. So if you look, all these yellows, and they're all right by each other, are Rich and Hearty, and that's real obvious. And then you got right next to their chart, see that's the white label. Those are light, and the labels look different too, in terms of the style and all that, and they're all together. And you got these dark greens; those are your sodiums. Then you got these like pale greens down here. That's your vegetables, and then the ones that are just solid, that's your traditionals. And again, this goes with the process. What is the end user is the customer, obviously. So we want to make it easy for the customer to figure out what's going on. And it's not completely different colored labels, but it's enough where it stands out and attracts the eye. And even if you were colorblind, the colors aren't the kinds that would really impact you very much. So it would stand out. So as I call them, the tribes. See, and you can stand here and look, and you can see the tribes of soups. So up on top, those are my reduced sodiums. This tribe is my Rich and Hearties, my lights.
This is Mike, one of our Nate crew.
And as the management was wondering what incarnation I'm doing, talking to myself, but you can see it's more organized. So we're talking processes, engineering processes. Again, we got another one of these columns that's just kind of sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Makes for congestion. That's all part of the thought process. And we were talking about color coding earlier and packaging. So here's a great example. These are eggs. So there's large and that's yellow. But these are 2 different brands of eggs. So there's some consistency here. And then we got the jumbos are white. So there's a jumbo. And then your extra larges are this lighter blue, and then the mediums are the teal. But now here's again we come with inconsistency, which can create problems. So over here we've got Kroger brand is white. We got Warner's white, jumbos. Now let's go over here to the Eggland's Best. Large is white, extra large is white. So they haven't followed the convention. All their packaging is the same, and that presents an issue, especially if you have people who have a learning disability, can't read. They're not going to know the difference. And so that starts to create some challenges. So again, these are all things to think of in the engineering process of what the output is. And that concludes our first grocery store tour.